Hey, what's up guys? This is Enemy Stand User, and finally we are back to our very fun character breakdown series that I kind of went away from. But as you saw, today is awesome because we're going over the human curse Mahito again, because YouTube decided to take down the other video, but I will not let that stop me because that video was awesome and I went into detail on that. And this particular music is so good. So full credit to the music and the art in the description, but now I can make the video even better. So feel free guys to comment on what your thoughts are, and remember to like and sub if you do like this type of content. But now let's talk about the wicked and twisted special grade curse Mahito. This curse, known as Mahito, is an unregistered special grade that was born very recently in the series, and he states that he was born from the humans, and thus he is the human curse, born from the negativity of humans. And being born from humans, Mahito's form, unlike that of other curses, is more in the shape of a human, but as we will see, he is far more than what he seems and is an indescribable and unreasonable evil that is born from the hatred and has no limit in his morals and no morals to his madness. He is crazy. One of Mahito's more main attributes or ideologies as a character is his theory on the soul. And because of Mahito's curse technique, Auto Transfiguration, he can morph, shape, and twist any living being into whatever form that he sees fit. And as a result, he does not see the value of life how we do. When talking about the soul in chapter 21, he stated people don't have hearts. They have souls, and only he can understand the composition of the soul, and that's how he could freely shape it. And things like emotions come from the soul, so it's too simplistic to call it a heart, and people overthink the things they can't see. And he says that I can see the soul, so for me it's nothing special. It's practically the same as the human body. It just exists. So because Mahito has free control over the concept like a soul, he understands it, and he feels that he is the only one who truly sees it. And you know, people say things like, in my heart, have a heart, and they overcomplicate things like the concept of the soul and put life in high regard, maybe in like religious or a religious aspect with something higher or a hope higher that is on another plane of existence. And we like to differentiate ourselves from others, like you have your own soul, your own will, your own state of self, your own state of being, and me, I have my own soul. But what Mahito does is he completely breaks that down and takes it down to this level, and that he breaks down that barrier and that concept, because for him, he sees all of it right in front of him, and he can even control souls like it's nothing, like he was playing with a toy or something. So for him, there is no heart, no higher plane, no poetic belief in the soul. It just exists right in front of him, and life has no particular weight or value. It just flows like a river. It's the same for everyone, including himself. There's no morals when it comes to life, and that's why Mahito can do whatever he wants. He isn't held back by anything. So there's no restricting philosophy with him about life, and if he wants to eat, he eats. If he wants to kill, he kills, and that's what he's offering when he's talking to Junpei to manipulate him into that sort of same mindset. But we'll get into that later. And of course, that sort of existential thinking is quite dark and is very, very upsetting to think about. But that is truly what Mahito represents as a character in this mindless outlook on life, and how he understands humans better than they even understand themselves. And before we dive deeper into his different aspects of his character, let's talk about one of my favorite aspects about him, and that is his battle prowess and the power he holds as a special grade curse. Now, it goes without saying Mahito is very strong, but I would say his own battle tenacity, his awareness of the situation, and his ability as a sorcerer is genius level and is almost unmatched in the entire series as far as we know with like higher tier characters. And Mahito is likely the most rigorous, adaptable, one of the most adaptable fighters in the series of Jujutsu Kaisen, which what makes Mahito so dangerous and powerful, even not talking about his power itself, is his mindset as a cursed fighter. And when he fights, he goes full tilt every time he engages. You could clearly tell he enjoys the fight and he enjoys every second of the fight. He doesn't care what happens to him, and he doesn't hold back at all. As long as he could push his opponents over the brink, his confidence as a sorcerer is unmatched, and more in line with, I would say, a character like Satoru Gojo. And Nanami actually pointed out when fighting him, both Mahito and Gojo have that same superficial attitude when they fight. So when it's time to battle, Mahito is hyped and has one particular goal in mind: to dominate. Mahito has the cursed technique Idol Transfiguration, allowing him to shape his own soul as well as other living souls into whatever form he desires, like some twisted nightmare artist. This power is extremely dangerous, as whatever he touches is subject to be manipulated by his cursed technique if its own soul is not reinforced, because sorcerers have shown a level of tolerance to his ability, but it's not a risk worth taking because it's game over when it does activate. But using this power, it lets Mahito adapt to all kinds of environments and situations, and he has been shown in every fight we have seen from him growing and developing more potential the more he's engaged in battle, especially if he's fighting multiple opponents at once. And the more he fights, the better he becomes, and Idol Transfiguration lets Mahito use humans of wide variety of attacks, like humans that he stored up as tools in fighting, or as puppets for battle, like he used the Soul Isomer technique against Todo in the Shibuya incident, and the Transfiguration attacks in the Reverse Punishment arc. And using people as they attacked is very disturbing if you are a sorcerer who wants to save people like Yuji or have strong morals. Mahito probably would be the worst opponent to go up against, because you would basically have to kill people just to get through to Mahito. He also uses attacks like Soul Multiplicity and Body Repel to create bodies with heightened cursed energy applied to them, causing a violent bodily explosion of power toward an opponent. On top of all this, Mahito can heal and reinforce his soul nearly infinitely, so he absolutely eats all types of damage and recovers almost instantly. So to defeat him, you would be forced to overpower him or to fight until he ran out of cursed energy, which is not a good idea since he adapts rapidly and has been shown to grow during fights, taking on tons of damage. And that actually reminds me of his feats in the series, and Mahito has some of the most prolonged and fleshed out fights in the series, so he has got a lot of W's in terms of his potential and his ability as a fighter. Mahito is someone who relishes in battle and always finds a way to push through a situation and grow in the midst of battle. And he has shown that a number of times. He unlocked his very own refined domain expansion called the Self-Embodiment of Perfection, or in other translations it's called the Mahayana Prison, which has ties to Buddhism or is something likened to an awakening. And this domain makes it so that Idol Transfiguration, when it is active, it's active everywhere inside the territory, so it would be like you were in the palm of his hand, as he could freely control the soul. However, this can't be applied to Yuji Itadori because Sukuna resides in Yuji, and thus Sukuna and Yuji are aware and have protection over their soul. So not only can Mahito not control Itadori, Yuji can also hurt Mahito's soul, so they are referred to as natural enemies. But from what we have seen, this setback only spurred Mahito on further, as in the Shibuya incident, he continues to engage and find all types of ways to hurt Yuji, and even use the domain of 0.2 seconds after experiencing it one time from Gojo, which allowed him to bypass Sukuna and impair Todo. And before that, he fought the newly awakened Kokichi Muda with an extreme amount of cursed energy and took on the ultimate Mechamaru puppet, which led to an epic clash and a showcase of how much Mahito can manipulate his soul and endure, as even he was pushed to his limits in that fight, making Mahito grow at a much faster pace into a monster of pure carnage, as he did eventually overcome Muda and kill Muda. And over both those instances, he understood his cursed energy to a degree that he became a user of Black Flash, showing his mastery over battle and to destroy Yuji's resolve by showing his strength, because the sparks of black do not choose who to bless. Just as Yuji was getting stronger, Mahito was also growing and getting more and more strong. But of course it does not end there. There's more, because in the final battle, Mahito unlocked the form Instant Spirit Body of Distorted Killing after finding the true essence of his soul. And because of all his experiences, he was becoming a curse far beyond what anyone imagined, and he was now a monster of pure killing intent. And some may argue that this form, it was maybe wasted on Yuji, but if you dwell on this form a little bit, it was specifically tailored to kill Yuji and was pure, raw, primal carnage meant to deal with Yuji's hard hits and his superhuman strength and combat prowess. So you could definitely tell Mahito was a very, even Yuji could tell, he's a very different person at that. He was a different beast to tackle altogether. And he made this form is very sharp, sporadic, almost like a xenomorph type form from Alien. You know how it's that beast-like tenacity as a curse. And Mahito was really gunning to kill Yuji, because after Yuji, Mahito would then be born into a curse that could reach limitless potential. And even he said, once I kill you, I'll truly be born. So Mahito was an incredibly dangerous curse and likely had more to show if he wasn't stopped by Itadori, but he was undoubtedly one of the most profound fighters in JJK. But stepping away from that a little bit, I wanted to talk about Mahito's character and the effect he has on the series. And Mahito, I feel he is an astounding and a very necessary antagonist or villain for this story and for Yuji. And a lot of people, they see and they like to call Mahito weak, a weak villain, or like evil for the sake of evil, or a simple villain. And they do sometimes they compare him to villains like Shigaraki, like LOL, same energy, like
no, not same energy.
And not to shoot anyone down, but yes, they have that crazy aura about them. But Mahito is different. Mahito, he doesn't have a backstory or have an extreme amount of depth to him. But what makes him special and that necessary evil in Jujutsu Kaisen is how he will never care about anything or hold any resentment toward anything, simply because it simply doesn't matter to him. Nothing is made Mahito this way. And you wouldn't hear I'll never forgive you come out of his mouth, because even Mahito, even if he is on that side of curses, he's not attached to anything, and he freely does whatever he wants. Think about the effect Mahito had on Yuji as well. Mahito manipulated Junpei's mind and motivated him to hurt others, forcing Yuji to fight his friend. Then he kills Junpei and laughs like he just stepped on a bug. And then he continued to mess with Yuji, forcing him to fight tormented transfigured souls, even going further in the Shibuya incident to incite a game to kill Yuji. And then when he finds him, just to rile up Yuji further, he kills Nanami in the worst possible way. It's horrific, right in front of Yuji again. But it does not stop there, as Mahito continued to torment and tease Yuji sadistically in a horrific display of his ability, and proceeded to lead Nobara to him so that he essentially could kill her too in front of him. And that's just, for all intents and means, that's just what he did. And this is not the most mentally stable Yuji either. He just came back from losing to Chozo and letting Sukuna go on a rampage, killing all of those innocent people. So all of these events go against Yuji's will to save others, to save people. And now here, he's failing even more to save his friends from death just because this monster Mahito thought it would be nice to see Yuji suffering, because that really is what he's doing right now. He's toying with everyone Yuji values. But what is really profound is what he said in chapter 126. I find my talent to be so exhilarating. Yes, I am a true curse. I bet you thought you were gonna do some pest control or ghost exterminations like in some make-believe story. You came to Shibuya with some half-assed determination, didn't you? How naive, you stupid brat. This is war. Not a battle to fix what's wrong, but a clash of truths. You and your fragile justice. You are me, Yuji Itadori. I kill without a second thought. Just like how you save people without a second thought. The instincts of a curse against the so-called dignity obtained by human reason. It's a battle to determine who will be left standing in 100 years. How the hell did you think you were gonna beat me when you don't even realize that? Tell me, Yuji Itadori. Have you ever stopped to count how many curses you've killed? No, right? Me neither. Like I care about how many people I've killed. I'm sure I'll eventually forget about you too. So Mahito completely understands the value of life. He knows humans. In fact, he states him and Itadori are one and the same. He knows what makes Yuji tick and he knows what Yuji is fighting for. But it doesn't matter. Because unlike Yuji, Mahito does what he wants. And this is not a good versus evil battle, but a battle to see which outcome is stronger. The instincts of a curse or the justice from human reason. And Mahito will ultimately act on instinct. And now his instinct is telling him to break Yuji. So it never mattered how many bodies he has to go through. It never mattered how many countless people he's killed. It's all for his own sadistic goals. And that's how he was able to get through to Yuji, by killing his friends in front of him, all of them. And he saw something in Yuji that he could take advantage of and break. He saw that naive and kind nature in Yuji and wanted to crush it. And as you can see, he enjoyed every single second of it. It's truly evil. And he wanted to torture and break Yuji Itadori. And this isn't the first time he's attempted this. He actually tried to do this with Gojo of all people. He was definitely brave, and he actually forced Gojo into a very difficult decision when he dropped scores and scores of people in the Shibuya station and all those transfigured humans into that subway tunnel, making Gojo essentially agonize over if he was going to kill everyone at that station, including the civilians, or let the carnage continue. And it was a bit much. That carnage was a bit much even for Gojo's standards of casualties. But as we see, he activated his own domain, stopping the carnage. However, because of that situation, they were ultimately able to seal Gojo and weaken the sorcerer's strength in the Jujutsu world. You could tell though, Mahito is a very evil genius, and he understands humans a lot more than they understand themselves, and he chooses to manipulate and torment them since he understands them, and he was born from the hatred humans had for each other. But what is really deep is how the curses describe Mahito when Jogo was about to die, and they mention death is something humans fear and detest, but death is a mirror for humans, and Mahito is that mirror. So for humans, Mahito is just this from what my take is, Mahito is this very ugly, in-your-face concept about human nature in and of itself. And him being a curse, he still reflects that very disturbing, horrific, and horrible side of humanity that doesn't show often. So like Jogo said, they are the true humans born from these true emotions. However, that doesn't make any of this less disturbing, but even though on the curse's side he was the youngest, he was still the leader, and that shows that even if Mahito, he doesn't care about life, he still had his own set of goals. And like we have seen, these curses, they are his friends. So you could say he does have at least some value in his life, though I don't think it's much value. Finally though, we get to the end of Mahito. As in his final battle, Mahito was at the height of his power as a curse through unlocking things like Black Flash, domains, and his new form. He was reaching new levels as a curse. But Yuji as well, he was showing that he was not going down, and thanks to a little help from Todo, Mahito got hit with Yuji's curse technique and was defeated by a final maximum input Black Flash to end the battle. And Mahito, now with no options left, is helpless, and Yuji now accepts Mahito and his own personal position as a cog in the series to kill curses. So now the tables are turned, and we get to see something we have never saw before. We see Mahito's fear as he now runs from Yuji, the same person who loves to torment, to kill and agonize people, the same person who said his own life is meaningless, is now running to preserve his own life. Because he still was not done yet. He still wanted more. He was so close, but he was defeated because Yuji understood his role and overcame Mahito's madness. Geto then steps in and engages Yuji before continuing to absorb Mahito with his curse manipulation technique, with Geto stating, "Sukuna's vessel is tough," and Mahito's last words being, "I knew that. After all, I was born of humans." So in the end, Mahito really was just a very cruel and demented child who couldn't even face death, even when he himself was that mirror and brings death upon others. It really is poetic because even if he is not human, he still shows the same traits people do. No matter how strong and no matter how powerful he is or how crazy he still is just a child. Despite how twisted Mahito is, I still find myself very fascinated at this character Gigi made that was so superficial and in your face about his horrific and brutal nature, not caring about anything at all and stepping over lives like this. And that clashing with Yuji really changed Itadori, because before he couldn't accept or deal with Mahito's carnage, and it was just perfect whether Yuji knows it or not. Mahito actually was a huge factor in his growth and strength, not only in fighting, but in his mental fortitude as a sorcerer and his resolve, because Mahito broke that resolve before with Yuji, and because of that, Yuji was able to come back stronger with a more determined and mature outlook on his path as a sorcerer in his life. So Mahito was definitely a big part of Yuji's growth and was an insanely horrific and sadistic antagonist who was a very unreasonable evil in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. Still, I talk like Mahito is dead, but he was technically absorbed. And I personally feel like this is the end of his story, because the next time he was out, he was shown being used by the Uzumaki technique. So he is now a tool himself used by Geto, actually using his power, Idol Transfiguration, to change different sorcerers' brains or non-sorcerers' brains to jumpstart the Culling game arc that we are now in. But I feel like his story is wrapped up, but Gigi has thrown in all types of spins and twists in the story, so anything's really possible. But I really highly doubt, if Mahito was to come back, that he would be the same one that we know. But we will have to wait and see how the Culling game progresses, or how Kenjaku will be dealt with. But thank you guys for watching this video. I really like Mahito. He is a ton of fun to talk about. But please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Yes, share this video so that I could keep making content that you guys would enjoy. But comment and leave your favorite Mahito moment, or say how you feel about the video. But anyways guys, this is Enemy Stand User, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye bye.